as much as you love the smell, have you eaten today? And if you haven't, I suggest you start with a pasta, potato, make sure you got some heavy meat. Why? Because you know what? You might get knocked out halfway through. They go, whoa, I will. That will put you off, and you might just throw up. And they go, why not give them? I've been there. I've jumped onto some cigars and, coffee, got off the set and was so really hyped about what I did, and coffee, boom, and just started throwing up. That's because I realized I hadn't eaten. So there is you're right. It depends. It really depends. And again, it depends on who you are, body size, weight. And I know some people, they could go through 4 or 5 of these cigars back to back. And I've seen it where you go, Jesus Christ. And they're still standing, right? So
yeah, but well with that.
Yeah.
I think I started to venture out into Europe, and I went to a place called Cigar World in Dusseldorf. That was an amazing spot and that was all New World cigars. It was incredible. It was, the place was packed nearly every single day. And I think I was in there for the whole trip. I went there 3 days in a row, and I'm like, and I did specifically go out there to go and visit it, but I smoked 5 cigars in one day, and I thought, this is ridiculous. So, yeah, but I sort of then realised that you've got to have a balance here. You don't appreciate it when you're doing that, and it's not good. You feel good, but there's something there around just balance stuff out. And just so you keep appreciating what you're smoking there. That was the key learning for me. But yeah, so some amazing cigars I smoked, and again, I don't feel like I've smoked the best. I think that's going to come. Because I'm very optimistic. I'm like, there's always going to be new ones that are coming on, and I'm really excited about that stuff as well. I hope, if that, I hear all these stories about how the cigar industry, and they're trying to cut, smoking laws and all that kind of stuff. That does worry me. But I'm like, there's just something there around, where I know that I might have a brand new experience in a few weeks' time, which will be the best, and I've had a few already that I've absolutely loved, but I think maybe the Cubas or when I go to the festivals, maybe I'd love to do that at some point.
You really, really, I beg you, whatever you do. I've done Dominican Republic, I've done Cuba, and I would really recommend you do that trip. It changes everything. You get to speak firsthand with the rollers. You get to sit with them, the little mama, the little grandpa, and they tell you stories. And these are just very happy individuals with stories out of this world. You meet people in their 70s, in their 80s, in good health. They're sitting there with their legs crossed, smoking a cigar. It's just like, wow. And it's just the stories that comes from being in the presence of these people alone it gives you an edge. So you will come back very different. You will see cigars in such a solid, it's Mecca. I always say the cigar culture parallels with a belief system, because it's a thinker's passion. Everyone that smokes cigars are thinkers. We ponder. We all are, for some reason, regardless of what it is you do, you are forced to be very successful at what it is you want to achieve in life, because you have time to think and ponder very clearly. And sometimes you will find yourself in a cigar parlor by yourself, or sometimes you will find yourself in a cigar parlor with the people you need to be smoking with. So the cigar chooses you. The cigar chooses you. So at any given moment, the cigar will come to you and say, no, we're going to smoke this together, you and I, because we need to talk. We need to think about what it is you need to achieve. There's just things. And that being said, talking about this moment, what's your thing on parent cigars? Do you believe, like me, the greatest pairing you could have in a cigar is friends and a glass of water? Or do you? That's mine. But I'm just curious.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I've got a few different views on it. So I think when I go to cigar events, it's immediately paired with a whiskey or and I realise for me, I'm like, that's a whole nother world. Cigars is so huge to me. Like, there's so much involved in learning about it, and I'm not sure I've got the time to do, that whole whiskey scene and the whole like or the food scene. Like they're really really detailed and they're really it's a craft. It's a lot there, and so like, but I also then go and I can appreciate. Okay, I can try that out. Try that out with a cigar, and it does enhance the cigar. Like I find coffee. If I have a coffee with it, it can really balance out a full-bodied cigar, for example. But I sort of see a negative side of that as well because I'm like, it sort of encourages you to drink more, and I'm like, oh, okay, smoking is probably one habit that I'll probably, that's enough. Do I want to go down that route as well? And I'm like, and I can see, like the other night I was at an event and I was like, yeah, have a whiskey, and I thought, just know your limit, stop, So I'm very cautious about that side of things. So I've been to some events where they give different types of fudge or different types of, like food or something. And I like that. There's something I like about that where it doesn't encourage you to sort of drink as well as... But then on the other side, I can also see the benefit. Like it's lovely to go out I went to a cigar dinner the other day and, having a lovely meal with the cigar and then a nice like whiskey with it. It was just perfection. So I'm kind of, I think about, the addictive side of stuff, and I worry about that a little bit. And I'm like, just be mindful of that, when you try. It's probably not the right answer, but
no. I'm
a bit cautious of that.
Yeah, it's good, because everyone has a different perspective. I know my greatest pair and his friends is the people. So when I go to some cigar events, I think the greatest part of that event is the people in the room, right? You end up establishing a whole total different relationship. When I've been asked by a lot of people, I'm very mindful like you because there are a lot of people. I have a lot of friends from the Middle East. I go to the Middle East sometimes. I pass through. Many of them don't drink alcohol, but one thing I know they do is a good cigar, coffee or tea, and a big beautiful jar of water with ice, and then at the same time, I've paired cigars, being part of the most established whiskey club on the planet, in Soho, in London, where just one dram of a certain whiskey that could cost anything from £3 to sky's the limit. I sip it with respect. I take my time in it because I need to make sure I can feel and taste my cigar and not have that rub my, like you said, cigar is huge, right? It's big. You can't really, you know what I mean? And then there's another thing one needs to be mindful of. Depending on who you are, if you're smoking a cigar, it's so powerful that it can overshadow the whiskey and you keep drinking more. Before you know it, you're unfunctionable. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to have to carry you over my shoulder because, hey, you understand where I'm coming from. So you are right. It's a tricky thing, but
yeah, and I think
there's a balance.
Sometimes you can get and you compare something and it just really balances it out. I don't know why I'm thinking of that, but there's just something there where I've had drinks where I'm like, yeah, that's perfect. But then sometimes the drink might be overpowering, or because you might have the wrong one, and then it takes away from the cigar. And that's what and I remember, and then I think about the conversations I've heard of. I think it's Mitchell from Cigars, and I think the Sahakians have spoken about it, where you can cleanse your palate. Like there's a whole thing where you can cleanse your palate and you keep that, clean, and so you can really experience the cigar. And I've not really delved into that world, and I'm not sure what lengths people go to cleanse that, but I think they do it a lot when they do. Is it cigar tasting when they're doing tasting of events? I'd be really interested to learn more about that. But it's really interesting. But yeah, I guess. But again, I try different things. I'm always like, I find different drinks suit different things. But again, I think I'm more of a coffee with a cigar. That feels like a good pairing. I've not found a whiskey where I'm like, that's the one I've got to pair with it.
Or chocolate.
Amazing whiskey.
Or chocolate. Chocolate is an amazing. It's an amazing tool. You put a bar of chocolate down in a cigar parlor. Oh my goodness, that's like, if you know what I mean. Depending on who you're sitting with, it could take you to a whole other level because it's all aphrodisiac. Same, which brings me to this. So how would you describe?
Oh, just one thing though. I'm now thinking of a conversation I had on Friday night about was it Arnold Schwarzenegger dipping the end of the cigar into the tequila, and that's a massive thing.
That's different, right?
And I'm like, oh, maybe that I've got to try that one out.
Well, before I topped that up. I remember many years ago there was a French brandy. It was that someone used the makeup brush that women would use, and dipped it in and just glazed over the cigar and let it sit for 30 minutes. And let me tell you something, I was like, at first I thought, this was way before social media, man. I was just like, damn, this is deep. I went to the cigar event, and you know what I mean? And I picked up stuff like this one guy had the Cavassier, and what he did was he drank it and blew the smoke inside the glass of it just to get the effect. And I asked this question. So when Arnold did that, I'm not surprised. There are there's many levels and why people will do things. But at the end of the day, I say, don't disturb the cigar. Respect it, smoke it, and just let it do the journey. Let it do the journey, man. Because the cigar chooses us for a reason, right? How would you describe your life philosophy in a few words?
Oh, crikey.
Hey, man. You're a blogger.
So I guess you can keep open-minded.
Yeah.
And experimental. I always think of like trying things out, and sometimes they work, sometimes they don't, and push through. Like when you're feeling like you can't do something, just keep doing it. Like just keep persisting with it, because you'll have great, like, good things. And I think there's that fear of failure. Like I always, go back down to that. Like, that's what might have held me back from going into a cigar venue, or because I was a bit nervous about going in, and I was like, oh, I'm going to look like an idiot and blah blah blah. But every time I've gone in and just pushed myself and tried, and I've had an amazing experience. I've tried a brand new cigar that I've never had. I've had a really good conversation with someone. There's something there around be open-minded, optimistic with the amazing world of cigars that we've got available to us, and I feel very privileged and lucky to be in a time where we've got access to this stuff. You never know what's going to happen tomorrow, so just to enjoy the moment, live for the moment. That's kind of what I sort of feel, very much like, and that's how I approach stuff. Yeah.
So also, are there specific principles, values that's guided your decision making and direction in life through the world of cigars?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I guess it's just that keep trying stuff out, and it's okay to fail, and it's like, and then I apply that with what I'm doing in the cigar world with my job, or my in my social life outside of the cigar stuff. I apply that thinking to kind of everything, and you can go on some wild journeys and adventures, and that's what excites me. That's what keeps me, like every day. I do get to the point where I'm a bit of a cigar nerd, because I wake up first thing in the morning thinking about different things about the cigar world. But yeah.
Love it. Success. What does that mean to you?
Success.
Yeah, success.
Yeah. It's tricky. I guess it's happiness. I think it's happiness. If you're happy, that's all that matters. Like, if you're not pissing everyone off, like you're happy and you're content, you're a good person, like that's what success, happiness, living in that moment. We can get caught up with, the stresses of life, everyday life and work and blah, blah, blah. It can all pile up. And, the thing about cigars is that you can just stop, you can have a smoke, you can relax, you can, just spend that time to be in the moment. And being in the moment is the key thing, because we're not here for long, like we're going to pass by, and we're, you never know what's going to happen tomorrow. So it's like, live for now, and so success to me is like, just keep that mindset, really, and it's hard work, it's hard to, because sometimes you can get negative thoughts and blah blah blah, but it's just like keep trying to be positive, and I think that's the thing to kind of keep, for me, that keeps me going, and there are times where I'm like, I don't find it all happy and life glorious, I'm like, oh shit, difficult stuff's happening, but it's like just realizing that actually they're just moments of time that are going to pass. So it's like, let it pass, and then and I think that's the thing with cigar smoking. Like, I spend time thinking about that sort of stuff, and working out I'm going to tackle the next day and all that kind of, that so, success to me is, really being in the moment and enjoying the moment as much as you can. Oh crikey, I got a phone call.
That's okay. um,
Hang on, I'll just let it stop and
yeah,
should be able to get it. Oh, sorry.
I love those old phone calls.
Sounds old school.
So reflecting on Temple Hall, because it's, I'm going to be very honest with you, it's one of the oldest cigars I've ever smoked. And we were talking about experience, right? I can't get it out of my head. I really can't. It's just, I've heard stories and I've done stuff, but we're not even sure if it's 62 or 63 years old, that box. What stood out during the tasting, experience for you? What really stood out that when you think back?
Yeah, when we tried that one,
Yeah,
I think for me the first thing was the shock of the amount of time that had been preserved, and I think Reese was explaining that it's they're stored in these big warehouses in London, and I was like, I just was very curious around where can you go and see that? I want to see that now,
yeah,
but that appreciation for how you have to, people spend a lot of time making sure that is kept at a condition that is good enough to smoke, and the taste and the flavour of it was just, I'm just looking back at my blog now actually,
yeah.
when I had that, and it was just such an unusual cigar to try. It just felt very different. It was actually, I think, from what I remember, it was quite mild.
Very, we were talking about. Sorry, let me take us back. We were reflecting on the Temple Hall Dunhill selection, number 133, how the experience of that, because that's again one of probably the oldest cigar I think we both have ever encountered. Is debatable. I mean, we could say 62, 63. Some people could say
I've just
more.
read it was 56 years old.
56 years old. Even
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, absolutely mind blowing.
Yeah.
I think it's that which kind of, for me, it was mind blowing to know that a cigar has been around for that long, and it's lasted. So it just emphasizes how much quality these cigars are. Like that they can live the test of time, and like I said earlier, I think looking back when they actually made that cigar, would they have ever imagined that this amount of time would have passed before it was actually smoked? I'm not sure. And again, when I smoked it, I was like, should I really be smoking it? Because you kind of think, why me? Why now? When you're smoking that, and you kind of feel like actually, like when I'm at a cigar event and I'm talking about stuff, we're enjoying the moment of the cigar, and I'm really appreciating that and being in the Alfred Dunhill house, but I really wanted to kind of be in a little box in my own little bubble and just sit with that cigar to really, really, sit there and really appreciate the effort that's gone into maintaining that. But it was a wonderful smoke, and I kind of felt like I'm not going to ever smoke one of those sort of cigars again, So you sort of feel like you've got to savor every single second of that cigar. And from what I remember, it was because it was a few months back when we tried it, but it was actually a cold, wet night. I think we had like some stuff protecting us from the rain, but it was just a very rare occasion that you get the opportunity to smoke such a cigar. And again, I immediately wanted to go back and learn about the history of that, and it surprised me, like I didn't know anything about Temple Hall at the time, and that's what I like about cigars, like when you smoke them, it can make you then go back and learn about them afterwards, and so that's why I always feel like when I'm writing a blog post, it's like an essay to me, because it's like it's like you're looking into the history of that, and then you're trying to explain it to people that have never tried it before, what it is, and again, I was really surprised that they actually did cigars in Jamaica, because I've not heard of that. I've heard of cigars from Dominican Republic and from Cuba, obviously. And so again, I was like, wow, there's why isn't that happening now? Like, what happened to stop them from producing such a great quality cigar? And why can't they bring it back? We live in the modern day and age. We send to the moon and and going to Mars. Why can't we bring back these amazing cigars for people to enjoy again?
It's interesting. I think that's something that we have to pray, hope, and wish that somebody would take over that, revive it. And that's a beautiful thing about the cigar industry. Anything can be revived at any given moment. Now we have the technology, we have the environment, we have the greenhouse effect, so we have a lot of ways to probably preserve things just by taste, right? Or, a scientist, taking a sense of smoke. And if you heard stories about, even in the New World cigars, how people have taken it down to the science, to make sure certain things are revived. So whoever's listening to us right now, you never know. And that's why I kept going back there, because that's history. You know what I mean? That's history. I've never smoked anything that old at all. And it did change the equation for me. It was very humbling. It was a humbling experience. So I was curious. You had a regret about a lighter in one of your blogs, the Dunhill lighter. Why was that?
So the regrets. I can't recall. Hang on, let me just check.
Yeah, it was a cigar lighter, Dunhill cigar lighter that left a great impression.
Yes. Oh, yeah. So this was. Oh, let me just look, because hang on, there was this. I didn't know that the thing is, when I go to these events, they tell you so much information about it. I want to sit there and write a note about it. And I feel a bit awkward because I don't want to look like a weirdo.
No.
But I note stuff down so I can look it up after. But what I saw is we went into the Alfred Dunhill shop, and this is just outside of where you can sit and smoke and relax. And they sort of showed us some cigars some cigar lighters that they had, and these were like so old. They were like old prototypes of how they sort of showed the evolution of a cigar lighter, which I had never come across before. I'd never really thought about it to that point. But they were sort of showing how they experiment stuff. Like when they're creating these things, these lighters, they're experimenting stuff. So they're making little, they're making lighters out of old tins of. I think it was a tin of I forgot what the tin was. It was an old sorry, hang on, it was like an old tin. It was incredible that they go to so many lengths to try different ways to get the best lighting experience, a little bit like how cigars are. And my mind was blown at how they'd sort of reused something to make something new. And then it becomes a historical artifact. It's like this sort of thing should be in a museum rather than in the hands of some, and I guess, it feels, again, maybe when I think back to the Temple Hall, those sort of cigars feel like you shouldn't smoke like you need a very special occasion to smoke them, I think. And I think there's a guilt there that, when you smoke that sort of cigar and it's not for that special occasion, or doing it for the right thing or the right occasion. So that I kind of have, not a regret, but I have like, I wish I'd sort of saved that actually, and really took the time to really enjoy it there, like later on. And with that cigar lighter, if I bought, it was really ridiculously expensive, which rightly so, because it's so old, and it really set the standard of what cigar lighters are now, and that was such an important moment. It's got to be in a cabinet, in a display cabinet somewhere. It's got to be in a frame. You can't use that. I don't think that, when I think of going into a shop and buying a cigar lighter, I'm like, maybe it's just an antique, isn't it? For me, you just wouldn't want to ruin it because it's got such value, and like the impact it had. It's a special, I never thought I'd appreciate such a thing in a cigar lighter, and when you buy a cigar lighter, you might buy one on Amazon, or you might go to a shop and buy a fancy one, and you don't really think of where the roots of it came from and how it got there, and that's the thing I like about these with cigars. You start to open your mind and think about that journey this thing's been on, and the impact it's had on the things around it. It's mind blowing. So when I saw that in Alfred Dunhill's shop, I was like, wow. And I wanted to spend more time. I had so many questions with people that were telling us about it because I was fascinated. And it's if you ever get the chance to have a look, definitely pop into the store and ask them to show you.
I definitely would ask Reese to do that. So as we wind down, I'm curious. because we have covered such an amazing vast of topics, man. It's just unbelievable. I think it's going to be a treat, from your world and my world and our cigar associates and friends. And which brings me to this: what should we be looking out for from London Cigar Smoker, from your blog? What's the plan? What do we, collaborations? I mean, where are you hoping to go now?
Yeah, so like I said before, like I'm not very good at strategic thinking. So I'm not very good at thinking, okay, I'm much more tactical in my thinking. I'm more of a creative person. I come up with ideas. But I have been reflecting as the year came to an end and the new year begins. Every year I kind of do a self-reflection. And I've been looking at, okay, well, where do I want to take this blog? Like, where next with it? And so the key thing for me is like, what's resonating with people at the moment? And I can't believe I'm even talking about. I'm on a video interview. This is crazy. I never expected that from when I did this stuff. It was just, I thought it'd be interesting to post about my blog and stuff. But now I'm thinking, okay, well, I'm becoming this kind of. I get a lot of people and a lot of traffic from different countries, and people are contacting me. And the main questions I get are either from newbie cigar smokers, or they're from people that want to kind of explore the cigar scene that's in London and across, and I'm like, and I'm always, when I go to a new country, I'm always looking out, where's the nearest cigar spot? Where am I going to go? So there's something there that I think, and I've heard from feedback from people that leave comments or meet me in person, and it's incredible. Honestly, I'm blown away by it. When people tell me that they've read something that I've posted, they sort of say, oh, they really like my honesty, how I'm honest, and I'm not sort of biased towards a particular brand or a particular cigar store or something. So there's something there around like being what's the words, like being balanced, like in terms of what I do. But I'm thinking, do I do, so Nick Wing was such an inspiration to me, and he tried to set up the UK cigar scene as a kind of magazine, and I kind of think, is there something there around, creating a UK cigar news site or not? But news is there's not much cigar news. It feels, that it's UK specific. So again, I'm thinking, okay, I need to pivot in this, carry on doing what I'm doing. Keep going to different cigar stores, and talking about them. So what I'm thinking at the moment, and I'm all or nothing sometimes. So like I did an A to Z and smoked all the cigar brands in that A to Z. Now I'm like, okay, well, how many cigar stores are there in the UK, and can I go to all of them? So this is where I'm thinking at the moment. So recently I've just been looking through like a few websites that kind of document different places, and I'm trying to tally and work out how many there are. And I think I found like there was between 50 to 70 different places, and they've all got different some have sampling lounges, some are just shops, some are points, like I think all this terminology, and I'm just trying to pinpoint, okay, well, what am I going to do next? And so I'm starting to find a list. I've been compiling lists in Excel spreadsheets, this is quite geeky, of where I want to go next and where I'm going to try. But I want to go outside of London. I want to try, I recently went to Hamburg in Germany, and I was blown away by the different types of cigar lounges there are. And I went to Warsaw the year before in Poland, and the offer that they have is incredible. So I'm always looking around at that. So I want to do more of that, more of going to more different cigar stores and different events. And I want to eventually go to some of the festivals and, of course, the meccas of Nicaragua and Cuba and Dominican Republic. So that's kind of where it's just carrying on what I'm doing, really. But if anyone's got any tips or feedback or advice, definitely throw it my way, because, I guess all I haven't got a goal. I think for me, my goal is just enjoy what what I'm doing. And I love exploring the cigar world, and, and I want to see more of it, and I'm just going to document as I go along, really. So that's kind of where I'm at the moment. But yeah, and collaboration and stuff. Absolutely. I just get very nervous, anxious about doing all this stuff. And I'm, not the most confident person in the world. So that's but that's what keeps me driven to do it, I think. So yeah.
You know what? So far, so good. I have to say, I've learned a lot from you, because the thing about cigars, the right absolute cigar. To understand the right absolute cigar is to expect nothing, because there is no such thing as the right absolute cigar, right? It's like the gift that keeps on giving. So I've always enjoyed the journey, never knowing what could be around the corner, right? Like I said, I would always say I met my wife 3 kids later. You know what I'm saying? All of this, I met the greatest of friends from the cigar world. I met the greatest of friend, depending on what time, the day, the place, wherever I'm at in the world, where that cigar was lit. And things, took a turn for, of course, in a philosophical and a very spiritual way. That being said, I'd love to end this with you. What kind of a legacy would Steve of London Cigar Smoker like to
Wow.
leave?
That's a big question. I don't even think like that. So for me, that's a really hard question to answer. But I guess the thing that I took away from Nick Wing, if I go back to who inspired me, is that he made cigar smoking really accessible to, it kind of got rid of all the, the perception of what it's like to smoke a cigar, and he kind of got you into it without, it made you feel good. And there's something that he did there that, when I get a comment or a bit of feedback that I got a message the other day from a father and son that went to JJ Fox because I'd posted about it. I was like, wow, this is amazing. This is kind of what Nick Wing did for me, years ago. So, that felt great, that was amazing. So it's that kind of thing that, if there's a legacy crowd, I wouldn't even think like that. But, if I can help make that, people get less, nervous about going into a cigar store on their own when they've never been, and they feel confident enough that they're going to know all about it because I've blogged all about it. That's brilliant. That's what I want. That'd be amazing. Because, and when I go through, I write these to help me get through it because I go in there and I'm like, I've got a blog post to write about this. So that's what pushes me through the door. And I think if I just keep doing that, and then when I meet people that have spotted it or read it, it's incredible. So the legacy is, just making it accessible and not got caught up in all your shit, just go through with stuff, and explore it. And cigar world is amazing. There's just so many experiences that are waiting for you, ready to experience. So, that's kind of what
Thank you so much, Steve. Thank you. Again, thank you for your time and joining me at the Oris Sanctuary, your sanctuary, where we could just have this incredible conversation, never knowing where it's going to end, where it's going to begin, or where it's going to end, either way. But I always say the spirit of cigar smoking is like therapy. It's a place you just go, you let it out. And I really thank you for this moment that you took this time, and we're taking this time out of our life to share with others. So thank you. I'm looking forward to seeing you again. And Steve, thank you so much. And let's do this again. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Don't stop. Just wait. There you go. There we go. Boom.